Welcome to WellSprings, everyone. I know it's a big day for fans of our particular sporting team. So we're really glad to see you here in Bell Hall for the big game. For those of you I might not have met yet, my name is Teresa. My pronouns are she and her, and I want to welcome you here, whether you're here in front of us in Bell Hall or whether you're on the stream this morning. Please rise, whether in body or in spirit, and join us on our first song here. And please welcome Handan. She is auditioning drums this morning for us. Andy will lead our first song here, which is Turn, Turn, Turn.
To everything, turn, turn, turn. There is a season, turn, turn, turn. And a time to every purpose under heaven. A time to be born, a time to die, a time to plant, a time to reap, a time to kill, a time to heal, a time to laugh, a time to weep. To everything, turn, turn, turn. There is a season, turn, turn, turn. And a time to every purpose under heaven. A time to build up, a time to break down, a time to dance, a time to mourn, a time to cast away stones, a time to gather stones together. To everything, turn, turn, turn. There is a season, turn, turn, turn. And a time to every purpose under heaven. A time of love, a time of hate, a time of war, a time of peace, a time you may embrace, a time to refrain from embracing. To everything, turn, turn, turn. There is a season, turn, turn, turn. And a time to every purpose under heaven. A time to gain, a time to lose, a time to rend, a time to sow, a time for love, a time for hate, a time for peace. I swear it's not too late.
Take a seat. Melissa will lead our next song here.
reach out your hand. If your cup be empty, if your cup is full, may it be again. Let it be known there is a fountain that was not made by the hands of men. There is a road, no simple highway between the dawn and the dark of a night. And if you go, no one may follow. That path is for your steps alone. Ripple in still waters when there is no pebble tossed, no wind to blow. You choose to lead, must follow. But if you fall alone. If you should stand, then who's to guide you? If I knew the way, I would take you home. La da 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 da. 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 La da da da. La da 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 da.
I need one drink of water for this next one here. Please rise, whether in body or in spirit. If you know this one, you know I need to drink this. And if you don't happen to know this one's going to be pretty easy to pick up. So please do sing along with us. I want to be ready. I want to be ready. I want to be ready when joy comes back to me. 'Cause I've been downhearted. I've been downhearted. I've been downhearted, but I won't be down for long. 'Cause I wanna be ready. Wanna be ready. Wanna be ready when joy comes back to me. I've been too long crying. I've been too long crying. Too long crying. But I ain't gonna cry no more. 'Cause I wanna be ready. Wanna be ready. Wanna be ready when joy comes back to me. I've been tied to the ground. I've been tied to the ground. Lord, I've been tied to the ground. Lord, I'm getting lighter every day.
Surrounded by midnight.
Surrounded by
I've been
midnight.
surrounded by midnight.
Surrounded by midnight.
Surrounded by midnight. But the
Sun's gonna shine again. 'Cause I wanna be ready. I wanna be ready. Wanna be ready. Joy
Welcome to WellSprings, both to those here in person and to everyone joining us online this morning. My name is Matt Bunzik. My pronouns are he and him, and I am delighted and honored and excited to be serving as our worship leader this morning for the first time. Each week when we gather, we light a chalice as a symbol of our spiritual heritage as Unitarian Universalists. And this is not just a symbol of what is past, but also of what is present, that divine spark, that inner light that shines at the heart of each of our lives. So as we light this chalice, may we share our light with each other and with the world. And so this morning, we've asked Merle to come forward to light our chalice. Merle celebrated a birthday this past Friday. And after Merle lights the chalice, we'll say the words together on the screen. And so together we say, we light this chalice to celebrate the path lit before us, the warmth of kindness that shines from within us, and the radiance of wisdom that is shared between us and never goes out. Good morning. Our mission here at WellSprings is to be a community charged full with the charge of the soul. And what's charging my soul this morning? I'm kind of mildly excited about the Super Bowl. I mean, I'm not much of a sports fan, but I'm excited that people are excited about it. But what's charging me full, it is sports related, and it's the ability to take a timeout. Just recently in my life, I took a timeout from my musical activities, from singing in a community choir and playing the organ and the piano at a few churches in the area. And in November and December, I was just finding that these activities weren't feeding my soul in the same way that they had in the past. And so for me, it was necessary to take a time out. So this morning, I'm celebrating the space that has opened up in my life. I'm celebrating the peace and the quiet that I'm able to experience as I go inward and find what's really important to me in my life right now. And it's hard to do that sometimes. Sometimes when we take a time out, we're afraid we're letting down the team, and it takes courage to speak up. So whenever we need to take time out in our lives, I pray that it is an easy experience. I pray that we can find the courage and find the right words to be respectful to ourselves and to be respectful to those around us. And I pray that we have the support of the universe and the support of everyone in our lives as we take the time that we need to regroup. And that our time out can truly be charging us full with the charge of the soul. And so this morning, I'd like to especially welcome any newcomers. If this is your first or second time with us today, we're so glad that you're here. If you would like to fill out a connection card, that would be wonderful. We could learn more about you, and you could learn more about us. If you're watching from home, there's a link to the online connection card in the description below the video. And if you're here in person, you can fill out a connection card on your phone through our WellSprings app, or you can see any of our greeters in the back of Bell Hall this morning, and they can help you get connected. Our greeters here, can you wave? Okay, great. And if you'd like to interact with the folks who are joining online this morning, there is a live chat available on YouTube. To access it, you'll need a YouTube or a Google account. Just sign in and then click the live chat button to say hello. And finally, you can always find more information about today's service, as well as upcoming events and news through our WellSprings app, or you can scan the QR code that's available on the welcome table just inside the front doors as you walk into Bell Hall. And we have a few pieces of news that we want to highlight this weekend. And so for that, I'll turn it over to our Membership and Communications Coordinator, Jessica Heichel. Jessica? Okay, thank you, Jessica. At WellSprings, the foundation of all that we do is rooted in the power of connection, of making space in our hearts and in our lives for each other. This is the part of our service where we honor that connection by greeting one another. If you're joining from home, take a moment now to share a greeting in the live chat, or maybe say hello in WellSprings Oasis, our private group on Facebook. And for those here in Bell Hall, you might also consider posting in the Oasis group to connect with our community outside of this room. And so finally, a reminder of those of us in the room, please ask before you go in for a hug or approach closely, as some of us are more comfortable with a fist bump or an elbow bump these days. And if you prefer to keep your distance from others, you can just stay seated, and that'll be our cue to give you a friendly wave from afar. With gratitude for all the ways that we might connect, please let us greet one another now. Thank you.
Did you
Hall are invited to continue your conversations at coffee hour. And making our way back now. Thank you for all those warm greetings. And we're invited to continue those conversations at coffee hour, which will take place right here in this room after the service. And now I'd like to invite you into our time of generosity. And this is an opportunity to express our gratitude for the ways this spiritual community has an impact on all of our lives. If you feel the value of our WellSprings community right now, we hope that you'll share a gift to help sustain us. And if you'd like, you can use your phone to give from anywhere. Just text WSprings to 73256. Our greeters will also be bringing hats around for those who wish to donate by hand. And you can also drop a check or a cash donation into the box near the front doors on the welcome table. Thank you for all the ways your gifts support WellSprings. Our offering will now be gratefully received. Having shared energy between us and giving beyond us, let us take some time now to reground into the deep and soulful energy that is within. We do this by doing what is most simple and elemental in our lives. We take a breath, inhaling and exhaling without rush or hurry, breathing in and breathing out. There is nowhere else to go, nowhere else to be. So let's be here together now as we prepare for our time of mindful silence. We follow these words from Thich Nhat Hanh into our time of meditation. If we want to enter heaven on earth, we need only one conscious step and one conscious breath. Let us cultivate peace and experience presence in this quiet time together. Wherever it is that we are, whatever it is that we are doing, however it is that we are feeling, let us remember that peace and presence are always as close to us as is our own breath. May this be so for you in this moment. May it be so for you this day. May it be so for you in the days to come. And may it be so for all of us. And now I'd like to invite all of our congregation's children to join our staff and volunteers in the back of the room for their time of fellowship in Youth Spirit. Youth Spirit will be meeting in the dining hall, which is the building to the right as you exit this building, behind the outdoor amphitheater. And grown-ups, please remember to pick up your children after the service is over. And now, Andy is just Andy. He'll lead us in our next song.
There's a father working on the line. He has to try his best to do it right each time. He wants to make it home to his family, and the one place he knows how to be. In his temporary state of grace, at home and in his place, with all the troubles he might face, he keeps on trying. There's a mother worried about her son. Such a challenge. Sometimes she feels so done. She wants to love him and help him the best she can. Hopes that someday he'll turn out to be a decent man. In his temporary state of grace, she hopes he'll find his place. With all the troubles he might face, he'll keep on trying. The Constitution, the Golden Rule, these things we learned way back in school. So basic, no need to make a fuss. Just try to be the same with those different than us. In our temporary state of grace, these ideas have their place. With all the troubles we might face, keep on trying. In our temporary state of grace, everyone can find their place. With all the troubles we might face, keep on trying. Trying.
That was an Andy Mann original. One of many that you have written for our band. Thank you, Andy. Yeah, why not? Thanks, Andy. He said he's trying not to drop the guitar, but he appreciates your applause. We have a couple new musicians this morning, and I think some of you might have come in late, so I just want to make sure that we acknowledge Sam Dulé has been playing with the band the last 3 weeks. WellSprings member Sam, thank you, on bass. And we have a new drummer trying out with us today, also, Handan Fazio. So please feel free to give her a good WellSprings welcome when you see her. And all of our band members are awesome. Even the ones who are at home sick right now. Julie, we miss you. She's in the chat. And Jill, who's not sick. Oh, Matt's much taller than I am. All right, let's see. So we don't often begin with a reading here at WellSprings. But I want to start this morning with a few words that are not mine, that spoke to me this week. As we are thinking in this winter message series about our work in the larger context of this world, the larger context of ongoing police brutality that we see in the news, of devastating natural disasters like the earthquake at the Syria-Turkey border. As we think about our work in that bigger context and in the context of the compassion that we naturally feel, the desire to help and to have an impact, I found myself coming back to a poem I know. Some words from one of my favorite poets, actually, the 86-year-old American Jewish activist and writer, Marge Piercy. This is her poem, To Be of Use. The people I love the best jump into work head first, without dallying in the shadows and swim off with sure strokes almost out of sight. They seem to become natives of that element, the black, sleek heads of seals bouncing like half-submerged balls. I love people who harness themselves and ox to a heavy cart, who pull like water buffalo with massive patience, who strain in the mud and the muck to move things forward, who do what has to be done again and again. I want to be with people who submerge in the task, who go into the fields to harvest and work in a row and pass the bags along, who are not parlor generals or field deserters, but move together in common rhythm when the food must come in or the fire be put out. The work of the world is common as mud, and botched, it smears the hands and crumbles to dust. But the thing worth doing, well done, has a shape that satisfies, clean and evident. Greek amphoras for wine or oil, Hopi vases that held corn are put in museums, but you know they were made to be used. The pitcher cries for water to carry, and a person for work that is real. The pitcher cries for water to carry, and a person for work that is real. Now, we have explored this winter our feelings about work, our experiences with work, how it fits in within that whole of our lives that we are building and living. And we've heard different kinds of stories so far. We heard from Beth, our ministerial intern, about her prior career in college advising. We heard from our guest preacher, Caroline, a story about her prior work as a flight attendant. We heard from Matt, our worship leader, a few weeks back about his work as a translator. And last week we heard from Kathleen, who told us about how her early interest in teaching never quite materialized in the way she expected, but now, near the end of her working life, she finds herself in a global training role at the bank where she's worked for decades, finally seeing how that calling showed up later in life. And you know, all of these examples, all of this work is real. I think what Marge Piercy's poem is pointing at is not some kind of hierarchy of jobs. And how often do we feel like there is some kind of hierarchy of jobs, right? You can measure it in all kinds of different ways. Some people measure it by how much money is earned, or how hard people work, what kind of education is required, how physical the job is or isn't, right? You will find people who will argue both sides of some of these hierarchies. But there are no kinds of work that are more real than others. If you listen carefully to the poem, you will notice that she talks a lot less about the work itself and a lot more about the people, about the workers, about the kinds of people and how they approach what they do, how they respond to each other's needs with a quickness, with a readiness to see each other and work in common. We are trained often to think that so much of what matters about work is about how hard it is or about compensation, but there is another way to think about the value of our work, which is to recognize that all kinds of work that we might do fills some need. It fills a need for someone else. That's the only reason any job exists in the first place, right? The work we do, no matter what kind of work it is, fills a need for another person, or it fills a need for a whole community, for a large organization, for a country, for a system larger than we know sometimes. And yet, that can be obscured pretty easily in the day-to-day, right? And yet food at work is a deeply interconnecting thing, all of it. Food needs picking so that we can eat. Hair needs braiding. Children need care. Houses need maintenance to stand. An organization entrusted with money needs people to skillfully account for it. A company with a product to sell needs people to communicate across different skill sets in order to reach their goal, right? Yes, even when you think about it, holding Zoom meetings and answering email has a purpose. It fills a need. And it's all work that is real. I think, unfortunately, that we can fall into these habits of thinking that some kinds of work are more interesting or more admirable or more useful than others because of all these different messages we get about work. I'll give you an example. Next week, Beth will be back up here preaching, joined by 2 WellSpringers, Majid Al-Saya, who does consulting and volunteer work in justice and education and peacemaking, and Steve Waldman will be up here next week, who is the chief of a local fire company. I mean, talk about elementary school career day dream guests, right? Steve even has an outfit that goes with his job, a uniform. Talk about concrete and exciting and publicly, visibly beneficial work. For some of us, it can be harder to see how our work fits into that bigger picture of use and meaning. And so today I've invited 2 other WellSpringers to share their work stories with us. And honestly, I put them together for just this specific reason, because they both said the same thing. When they volunteered and offered to share their stories with our congregation, we reached out, Beth and I, to all of these people who volunteered, and we offered them the option to do that in a couple of different ways. They could either record a video talking about their work, or they could come speak in person, or we said we could even come shadow you for a few hours and see what your workday is like firsthand. Both of today's volunteers said something along the lines of, "Oh yes, I would love to speak with the congregation, but please do not come shadow me. You do not want to sit in my home office and watch me at the computer all day. You will die of boredom." I actually don't think I would have. But maybe some of you can relate to that feeling. How many of us have had an office job at some point in our lives? That's a lot of people in this room. That's almost everyone. And yeah, me too. It's interesting. I would say that my job as a minister is a mix of different kinds of work. It is probably about 40% office job, and about another 40% interpersonal, and a lucky 20% creative. That's an average, obviously, on most weeks. But I have a mix of different kinds of work within my one role. And so I also feel the difference between the kinds of work that I do that are seen versus the kinds of work I do that are unseen. Nobody watches me at home when I answer emails or when I'm reading and reflecting to find the right words to preach. There's an old joke that ministers tell each other. We tell it to each other, actually, because usually someone has actually said it to us at some point in our career. "Wow, so you only work on Sundays. What do you do with the rest of the week?" Right? Yes, the most visible work that I do is on Sunday mornings. And I share this with you because I wonder if you've ever thought about the different types of work that you do in a typical week. And I don't just mean your paid job. What are all the different kinds of work you do in a typical week? And what parts of your work are seen? And what parts are unseen? Maybe most of your work is unseen. Maybe all of it. feels unseen. It's that question of whether our work is seen, right, is visible to others that can have a big impact on how useful and valuable we feel. Because there's a spiritual hunger that's still here within us when we're working, that human hunger to simply be seen and known and heard. And so today's stories are in some ways about making office work a little more visible. But these stories are also about noticing the depth in our relationships between work and the rest of our lives. How our spiritual selves are part of us even in work that may not seem so publicly or visibly sacred. And so I've asked two different Wellspringers to share as part of this message. The first is Julie Choi, who is at home sick today and was not able to be with us in person. So Julie shared her story on video. And in just a moment, I'll ask Bennett to play that video for us. And after Julie's story, I'm going to invite Tiffany Shoffner to come up, and she is going to share a little bit about her experiences with work. And then finally, I will wrap things up with our prayer before we close out the service. So here is Julie's story. Go ahead, Bennett.
Hi, my name is Julie Choi. I'm currently a senior account manager at a global well-being company called Workplace Options. Workplace Options is based in Raleigh, North Carolina, and currently has over 1,000 employees around the globe. We contract with companies both large and small to provide well-being services so that those organizations can help their own employees. Some of those services are short-term mental health counseling, life coaching, wellness coaching, and resources and referrals in work-life areas such as childcare and elder care, money management, and legal assistance. How did I choose this work? Well, I've been in the EAP industry for almost 20 years. I did not initially go to school to become a global account manager for a large well-being company. I went to school for journalism, and I worked in the broadcasting industry in TV and radio for about 10 years. And then I took time off to have my son and spend some time home with him. And then I would say I stumbled into this career by wanting a very part-time job. When I went back to work when my son was 18 months old, I wanted a job that was very minimal. So I found a job as a phone support or a receptionist at a local EAP company for 10 hours a week. It was Saturday mornings and Thursday evenings. And I continued with that company for for 19 and a half years. So I got to grow into a position as a sales and account manager for employee assistance products and services. And as I mentioned, I switched to this company, Workplace Options, about a year and a half ago. So right in the middle of the pandemic, I made one of those sort of life-changing decisions to leave the organization I was at for a very long time. And I'm very happy that I made the move. How does my work make me feel? Well, it probably depends on the day. Some days it is stressful. Some days it's tedious. Some days it's feeling really good because I feel like I've done a good job, or I've helped one of my accounts find a solution to their problem or situation, or I've collaborated with teammates, or I provided a great suggestion, which made me feel accomplished. So I would say on most days I feel good at my job because I feel like I know what I'm doing. I feel like I'm making a contribution to the organization, and I feel like my organization is certainly making an impact to improve individuals and people around the world, to improve their well-being, whether it's emotional, practical, or physical well-being. So that makes me happy to have the mission of my organization sort of aligned with my personal goals. I tend to not really talk about my job with folks at WellSprings, but I do know that while I'm very good at my job, it doesn't necessarily offer me the creative outlet that is part of who I am, singing and dancing and that side of me. So definitely WellSprings has offered me that opportunity as being a part of the WellSprings band. I get to sing, I get to dance, I get to be up on the stage, and that is helping me be who I am. It's not something that, I'm singing and dancing at my job, although we are getting together for a global sales meeting, so you never know what happens there. But, and just, knowing that there is a group of people that care about me, that when I was struggling, and I actually had to take time off from work, which was very difficult for me because I'm used to working and contributing and being productive. So when I had that time when I wasn't able to do that, knowing that my community still cared about me, still supported me, valued me as a person because of who I am and not just because of what I do or what my job is. So it's really a blessing to be part of this community.
Hi. So the questions that Lee asked me to focus on today is, what is your job title and what do you do? So anyone in here ever been in sales? Some people in the back. So I have a slide on this. This pretty much sums up what people think of sales, I think. So my friends think I'm your stereotypical car salesman, wheeling and dealing all day. My parents think I'm begging people for money by the side of the road. If you ask a marketing professional about sales, it's just landmines all over the place. They don't understand each other, typically don't really get along that well. My customers think I own a logistics company and can do anything for them at any time. Salespeople pretty much think they're awesome, so that tracks. But really what I do all day kind of looks like that. And actually, as a sales leader, realistically, I kind of do a little bit of everything that's pictured there all day. I am a director of sales for a company called Abcam that, and I lead our America's inside sales team, and Abcam is a life science company. What does that mean? We work with scientists to provide biological reagents and solutions to enable faster breakthroughs in critical areas like cancer, neurological disorders, infectious diseases, and metabolism disorders. So what does that mean? My company focuses and is most known for their antibodies. So we sell research-grade antibodies to researchers. And what that means is research-grade antibodies are used as a fundamental detection tool by bioscientists. For example, if a researcher is trying to understand how cell function has gone wrong in a cell, antibodies can be used to mark and identify specific proteins on that cell that are present with the diseased cell at a particular phase of its life cycle. And some way, I am not the scientist doing this work, but that helps them understand the diseases more, and eventually develop treatments, cures, and tests for all of those different things. I manage a team of people, about 10, and we talk to scientists all day in North America and South America and help them decide what they need for their research. These 10 people that I manage are at various points of their career. Some of them are very excited, just out of school. Some of them are midlife scientists who had a change of heart, didn't want to work at a lab bench anymore, and they've changed career to try something different. Some are PhDs, know science inside and out. Some are new to science and have a really strong sales knowledge. And it's my job to lead these people and to help put Abcam's products in advancing science. We sell things that these people need all day, and we work with different types of customers. So we're talking to academics and clinical accounts, biotechs, and pharma accounts. Another question I was asked is, how did I choose this work? This work found me. My degree is not in the sciences. I went to Millersville University because I was really interested in being a graphic design teacher. I was very interested in CAD, pre-engineering design. My degree is in industrial technology. I get to explain that to people in the life science field when they just don't understand what that is. My time at Millersville was very much spent doing a lot of charity work with my sorority, which, fun fact, was founded on UU principles. Later in my life, when I found WellSprings, had that little connection in my background. So all of that charity work, I had a deep love for nonprofit, and at that young age, I really very much just wanted to save the world. I interned at Lancaster at a chapter of the American Red Cross, redesigning their brochures, and after graduation, was able to spin that into a career with the Red Cross, blood services, which is why, if you all donate blood, and I see on Facebook, it's why I'm cheering you on in the background, because I have a very deep love for blood donors. So while I was there, I learned the science of processing blood and fell in love with science. I was able to morph those skills, those sales skills that I had learned about selling the idea of hosting a blood drive, into selling these scientific products. And that is when my passion for life sciences took off. I've been in the industry ever since, and I really can't imagine doing anything else. The ways that this work gives me purpose, or lets me live with purpose, it really has given me a great deal of pride to see breakthroughs in the sciences over my career, and know that while I was just a very, very tiny part of it, and in some instances truly a drip in a petri dish, that I had something to do with that, and that I in some way contributed to these amazing discoveries. As you all know, major events over the last few years have really highlighted the importance of science and testing. I've always gotten to see the science being done, but never at this scale. If I would have asked you all if you knew what a PCR test was 3 years ago, I bet you would have said no. I knew. Rapid tests, all of those products and the components that go into doing all of those things, I've sold all of that stuff during my career in the life sciences. And so it's really been cool to see all of that become more present in everybody's lives. I also get to see things like the work they're doing on CAR T therapies. If you think of the Emily, or if you know the Emily Whitehead story, that couldn't have happened. All of those breakthroughs would never have happened without the products that I'm selling every day. And so to know, even on a bad day, that I've helped this happen and I've made a difference in some way, really is what gives me my purpose at work. I was not a studious kid. School and grades did not come easy for me, and I was never one that really just knew what they wanted to be when they grew up. So falling into this world and seeing how I could contribute my skills to it really brought me my work-life purpose. Because of this work, I work hard to network. I share my story with finding this work whenever I have the chance, and I'm the one on the team that always is very willing to take a chance on somebody from the outside the industry when we have entry-level roles, and I try to point people to it because someone took a chance on me in putting me in this role, and I'll never forget that. And how does this work help me? How does my work allow me to build beloved community and contribute our WellSprings vision of making the world whole? Oh, I have a slide for this, but it's, I think, 2 ahead. So the last 3 companies I've worked for have done a lot of tremendous community outreach, and I've always been really thankful to see that within my companies. You'll find these companies teaching STEM at underserved schools with a traveling shipping container, donating lab equipment to third world countries with this project called Seeding Science, donating tons of money at global scales, which is great. Not all, but most life science companies field this worldly connection because science happens all over the world together. But the company I work for right now, Abcam, is doing something a little bit different to try and showcase this, and I thought it was pretty cool, and I wanted to share it with you guys. So in London, in the UK, there is this thing called the Blue Plaque Program. So think of like our historical things that we have all over PA, and you see those blue signs with the yellow writing, and it tells you like Daniel Boone lived here, whatever, It's all like historical stuff. So London's Blue Plaque scheme is run by the English Heritage. It celebrates links between a notable figure of the past and a building which they lived or worked in. It was founded in 1866 and has inspired many similar schemes around the UK. That is usually a person or a place, a singular. So our CEO decided he wanted to do something different with this, and Abcam, my company, is putting these plaques up in a different way. So Alan Herzl says, in British culture, there's one visual marker that has celebrated the exceptional work of individuals and their contributions to wider society, the blue plaque. But we all know that often scientific progress is an iterative process that happens when we work together. So we wanted to create these striking new plaques to really champion the success of the collective. And in this specific instance, they're highlighting the BRCA2 gene, and that's the breast cancer gene that was discovered by a team of 41 scientists. The BRCA2 gene discovery has paved the way for a huge amount of progress within the field of cancer research, and we hope that this spurs on a movement where teams of scientists are widely recognized and celebrated for their contribution to both science and society as a whole. So it's been very cool how my spiritual community shares these same themes. The inherent worth of dignity at every person. We have so many DEI programs at work, and I feel very lucky for that. We live them, we don't just have them. The acceptance of one another and encouragement to spiritual growth. It is very much made clear at ABCAM that we show up as we are and we help each other do the same. And the goal of world communities, so this blue plaque system that they're putting in place, I thought was very cool. These have always existed in my places of employment, and I feel very fortunate for that. So how does or can our spiritual community support me at work? You all do without even knowing it. The things I learn here on Sundays, I take to my team meetings as food for thought or ways to help motivate the team on a bad day. And I do the reverse of that. The things I learn at work, I absolutely use when I come to WellSprings, especially on board meetings when we're trying to present data or trying to think of new ways to have meetings and themes. I try to make both of those things work for each other. And spending time thinking about these questions made me realize that I have been intentional about the places that I've worked. I've had opportunities come and go, and one thing that I've always really looked at in a career choice, and even more so than money or benefits, maybe I should pay closer attention to these things, but I don't. It's been the cultural fit, and do they have these programs and things going on? So I think WellSprings, without even knowing, has instilled that within me, and so I was very thankful to answer these questions and spend the time thinking about it. It's been really interesting for me to dig into that and see that work is one part of how I show up in the world, but for me it's an important one, and I'm glad that it crisscrosses in so many aspects of my life. Thank you.
Tiffany and Julie, thank you both so much for sharing your stories. And I loved hearing, Tiffany, I know how excited you were to talk about the Blue Plaques program, and that story fits so well because it is those connections, right? The teamwork that are part of how we make meaning out of our lives and how we find work that's meaningful. And paying attention and learning to see each other's work is not just about accolades or plaques or warm fuzzies. It is that spiritual element that's present. We don't leave our souls at home when we sit in front of the computer or get into the car or onto the plane for the sales trip, for the meeting. Even in conversations about economic justice, we see how important it is to recognize and value each other. We know that it matters to have people be fairly compensated for their work so they can meet their needs and truly live off of what they make. But part of economic justice is also about respect, right? About seeing the work that happens before sunrise or after hours. The practical needs and the human connection feed into each other because we need to see each other as human if we're really going to fight for the rights of all different kinds of working people. The workers in Marge Piercy's poem see each other. They work in a row and they pass the bags along. So I'm going to leave you this morning, and I'll invite the band back up actually so that they can be ready after our prayer. I'm going to leave you this morning with a small challenge. It's a gratitude practice, really, but it's not a private one. It's one that I hope will connect you with each other. And that challenge is simply to notice someone's work. I mean, with an actual person, try to sit somewhere, anywhere, for 5 minutes this week without anything else to do, but with your only purpose being to notice another human being at work. And whether you say it to them out loud or only to yourself inside, offer your gratitude for the role that they fill, for the way that their work has brought benefit to your life. Not just in the world in some abstract sense, but how their work is actually helping you. Because all of our work does connect us. And the more we practice seeing that and honoring that, the more we will realize it's not the tasks or the difficulty or the pay that makes our work real. It's the way that the work connects us all. It's the people that make anything worth doing. Amen. And may you all live in blessing. I'll invite you to join me for a short moment of prayer. God of our heart's own yearning, if we are feeling a little bit invisible this week, if we have been wondering about our purpose, if we feel that way in the future, may we take a moment to go inside, to stop and recognize just how connected we are to each other, to everyone around us. May we remember that someone depends on us for something, and that we depend on so many others just to get through each day. That joy is brought to us in ways we may not recognize. May we pause this week and honor the work that someone else does to make our life easier or better or sweeter. And in doing so, may we remember that we do the same for each other. For these prayers I've spoken and for the prayers each one of us is carrying in our hearts this morning, we say amen.
Please rise, whether in body or in spirit, join us here on our final song this morning.
You gotta move, you gotta move, you gotta move, child, you gotta move. But when the Lord gets ready, you gotta move, you gotta move, you gotta move. You may be high, you gotta move, you may be low, you gotta move, you may be red, you gotta
This light goes out, but the source that sparked it stays with each one of us. And together we say, as we release this flame from its faithful service today, we allow the spark in each of us to burn on, to warm our compassion, to fire our delight, and to light our paths today, tomorrow, and always. Friends, our faith says that all of us need all of us, even Kansas City fans. So may you remember that about each other and about yourselves this week. Let's put our hands together one more time for this band. Guys, take us out.